Yeah, maybe they can, well, Toxic is going with Slash, I think. I was going to say, given his Quake 4 background, why not just have him go to Slash?
100%.
And then Too Good, well, it looks like Too Good's on Nyx now, which is also one of his excellent characters. It seems very common. We're seeing a lot of small lineups with the one heavy kind of in the background just to kind of anchor things. And a lot of times we're seeing Scale Bearer now. We saw Clutch, though, earlier on Sarnath from Team Liquid. That was certainly an interesting pick. I got to admit, DreamHack, probably best Clutch in the world. I don't know. I mean, in terms of just pure Clutch play, he's great. I mean,
it's because you don't see a lot of people actually go with champions like that. So when someone does, you got to really sort of think, right, this guy's going with a champion. They've clearly practiced this and they're ready. What is this guy going to bring to the table? Actually, on that subject, we had a conversation just now during the break with Bus Driver and Litz, and they very clearly said they weren't actually prepared for the Clutch. They said we played against Stacked, we were taking rounds off Stacked, we were taking some maps, doing really well as a team. But the second they bumped into that real sort of brick wall defender, which Clutch brings to the table on those points, they just weren't prepared for it. And I think in this environment where some of these teams will be playing each other's new lineups for the first time, you're only really going to get practice against some of these teams by playing them like right now on the stage.
Well, that aspect's certainly intriguing. With the changes, who knows what they bust out right now? You could have seen one thing in the qualifier and think, you know what? It could be maybe because of a change, or it could just be they want to throw a wrinkle at you. And yeah, you saw us practice this way the whole way, but little did you know, we've been practicing with this other champion, and now we're going to show you on LAN. And it's very useful when you do that. And as you just mentioned, they weren't prepared for Clutch. When we were talking with Zoot, we're mentioning what a difference that made. That you could tell they just weren't prepared and organized for it. So I'm curious to see which team here can really establish things, but I have a feeling Stacked.
I mean, a little birdie told me, and I'm not going to spoil the surprise, but Unlovables do have an ace up their sleeve for a certain map. They have a tactic they've not been using in their practice games, and should the opportunity arise, they will be showing it off.
That's what I'm talking about. Let's see how that works. But here we go on Burial Chamber. I know Stacked is great on this map, so let's see.
Now, Toxic's been so consistently strong at seizing the soul, but he will not get the chance to in this round, because he goes down right as the soul appears. Who's going to be able to pick this one up? Looks like Faz currently has access to it. A lovely little rocket jump, and that's going to give him more than enough speed to go for the first delivery. Stacked with an early lead. And the thing is, if they get access to the power-up now, we've seen it time and time again, that's going to be a guaranteed 30% if Unlovables can't contest.
Yep, it's so important to get off to a good start in these sacrifice matches. That 30% being from behind is so hard to come back against players of this caliber, especially.
Here we go. The soul's going to spawn. Actually, yeah, power-up, I guess, is going to come through. Faz with the quad damage. I think it's a nice, respectable double trying to bring this one back. And we saw that quite early on. I think Unlovables made the call to go, right, if they're going to fight for the power-up, we're going to fight for the soul. Sometimes it's not an easy choice, but right then, unfortunately, Faz was just able to clean house and doesn't get one before he gets sent flying off the map.
Yeah, they're doing a good job getting off to a nice lead here. Unlovables, they got to think, how do we get back in this game right now? Obviously, they kind of had the quad run, but it seemed it was a little disorganized, disjointed going in there right now. I think they need to take a step back and really think about their approach right now, because the percentages are just ticking up.
And that's, once again, history repeats itself. The second the power-up disappeared, that's 30% and going. Faz does manage to win that 1v1 with bot mode. In the end. But I think one thing we're likely to see is how prominent rails are on this map, because fast, small champions, they have so much open space. Anarchy in particular to just sort of run rings and make a great sequence from one obelisk to another. You've got to be able to hit those rails. And with Stacked, pretty much everyone on this team has fantastic aim.
Oh, absolutely. All these players are top-notch on Stacked. I can't say enough about them as individual players.
With a good early start, I think Unlovables have got a lot of work to do already. 50% in less than 2 minutes. I mean, this is not a fantastic start.
No, well, it is for Stacked. They're looking really strong right now on Burial Chamber. Their defense is solid. I mean, they're not even getting the soul out of the room, let alone getting I mean, they're just getting no momentum at all.
And I think it's just the way they're just consistently surrounding you. You've got two guys consistently sitting within the obelisk, and there's almost one member kind of almost like doing runs outside, not even allowing Unlovables to get near the entrance. I mean, on Burial Chamber, this obelisk is so popular anyway because it's well protected without you even actually needing to be there because of how many walls are on this map.
Yes, and then you have that, small armor tucked away on the top. You're a few strafe jumps away to the stairs, the heavy armor, not to mention the high position that you can take in the room. I think it's a great position to take. I think it's certainly the more dominant of the two obelisks, in my opinion.
Now, I feel like if they're able to seize this power-up, this is likely to be a guaranteed round. Faz is pretty healthy going in there, tries to get it too good with one of those sort of patented Ghost Walk reappears, guarantees himself a protection, and that means he's going to be pretty much impossible to kill. They do everything they can, but he's not able to go down whatsoever. And I mean, Too Good, one of the best things he can do with Nyx is just his timing on power-ups and soul always immaculate.
This is just a dominant performance right now in round one. Something Unlovables, I don't know if they were trying, because they're having so much trouble even just getting the soul in their hands. But I think they might want to think about, you know, trying to get it out of the room and just throwing it off the map just to try to get it back to center, because they're having a really tough time.
I think it can be so foreshadowing, can't it? When it goes incredibly dominant, where someone gets the soul, they drop off early, they get every single power up, and it's almost like the tools you have available to try and make that comeback are just straight up denied. And that's one thing Stacked have done, even during the QWC days, where when they have the lead, they essentially will take everything around their area that denies your ability to make a comeback. You know, if there's a strong weapon near where they are, they will not let you pick it up at any point, and they'll time it too.
Yeah, they're excellent. Of course, these guys are all fantastic duelers in their own right, so their timing individually is going to be on top of it. And then if you combine that with the fact their communication is going to be good, now they're communicating times to teammates and stuff, and become really tough to deal with.
It's very impressive from Botmode, actually able to survive, get a couple of frags
for
his trouble, and there we go. Unlovables have been able to, at least for one time, they've got the drop-off. And they've got a good little start, already doing a little bit better. They have got some percentage on board. Not a lot of heads near the power-up so far, but with the amount of Stack members that are near that rail, a couple of them will have access to it. Good fights coming out from Unlovables, though.
Yeah,
Two good tries to get it, and that's it.
Doing a much better job this time in terms of their combat. They seemed like they were getting a little bit off thought last game. Not just out-thunk, but out-fought as well. So it's important for them to get off to this good start right now. As you mentioned, they might end up with the 30% lead now when this power-up is done.
I mean, they're in good form for that. There's a couple of people trying to run in here, but Botmode was, well, healthy for a little bit, but you can only survive for so long, I suppose. CCAP has got the quad damage, but actually wasting a lot of the quad damage while he's invisible, so he's only going to get 1 or 2 more frags before it's done, but he'll take anything at this stage. And there we go.
That was more, he was so low, he kind of wanted to quad deny a little bit there, and he got his quick little kill there at the end. It was a smart play. He was kind of in a tough position.
And they've done a fantastic job defending so far. Actually, almost a complete mirror of what we've seen, but this time Stacked are on the receiving end. I think if you're Unlovables and you've just lost a dominant round, this is exactly the turnaround that you need, right? I mean, pretty much just do the exact same thing back. Yeah,
but now they need to finish it. They got off to a good start. You know, if they lose, that's it. This is on to the next map. There is no third round. So they need to close the show in this round, and it's certainly a confidence builder. I agree completely with you there. And if they win 100-0, what does that do for Stacked mentally, you know?
I mean, the ball's in their court. You pretty much go back to as much of a neutral 1-1 as it gets, where both rounds go the same way, but 2 good tries to pile in. Does miss 1 super shot. Will he be punished for that? And it actually looks kind of likely. No, Botmode. A little bit of self-damage. Can't quite get that rocket there. And Noctis making a bit of a passage here. Taking damage along the way, but as long as he gets those health, he might be okay. Tries to get at least 1 rocket. No, can't quite make the jump. Passes it on, but I mean, that's the best he could do in that situation.
Yeah, it was a good throw. You could tell he knew he wasn't going to make it. So he's just trying to get it as close to their point as possible, hoping a teammate there is there to back him up. And it looks like they are going to get it over here. So let's see again, you know, last round, I know it's a different Obelisk, but I just felt like Stacked, when they locked in on defense, and Unlovables was having a major problem.
And they've got a little bit of an advantage situation here where they've dropped off the soul and they're going to get a little bit of uncontested percentage because the power-up is spawning pretty much exactly the same time. So while this fight is taking place, Stacked are somewhat evening the odds. And speaking of which, Noctis with almost an entirely stacked Soul-like and protection. This guy is not going to go down, and just like that, they're going to get back. They could potentially get back in the lead here.
Yeah, it's to the point where he's so stacked and he's like, now he's going to grab Mega Health. Unlovables might want to think about just kind of chilling back, you know, pick up the the heavy armor if they can, get some arsenal back and wait for this thing to wear off.
I mean, they can do as much damage as they want, but I mean, Noctis, he's going to have no worries piling in. So frequently we see people with power up when it's about to run out. They'll just pretty much just jump straight into enemy lines and try and get as many frags as possible before it runs out. That's what Noctis tried to do. But I mean, there we go, Stacked. They've got a good sort of like lock-on for their Obelisk, and I think this is where the 2 Obelisks become a bit more different, right? Where A is a little bit more enclosed, a little bit close quarters. B is pretty much completely out in the open. You're going to see those long-range rockets. You're going to see those rails. And with Stacked having their accuracy, this is where it gets a little bit dangerous to attack.
Yeah, you can take defensive angles from 2 entry points, really, and you have a long line of vision throughout the map. Versus rail, spamming nails is very popular for to deny. So we'll see. This is a good steal, though. Unlovables looking much stronger in this round.
And I actually think Botmode's pathing, his decision-making there, it no doubt also would have been communication with his team. Nicely on point. I mean, he took very minimal damage going through. I don't think a couple of guys were ready. And when the fights happened, he was ready to win the 1v1 when it happened there.
Yeah, very critical for teammates to help you out there. You can't see everything on the map. They got to let you know where the enemies are, where the pressure's coming from, and when it's safe to capture that soul. So they're doing a really great job right now. You know, a good defense here. We got another power up in about 25 seconds. So if they get this next power up, we could be looking at 1-1.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be a very difficult situation. If they're not able to contest any of this percentage right now, when that power-up spawns, it's going to be a hard call. There's going to be, they would have been roughly around like 5% left, right? And it's like, right, this is a hard choice to make. Do we go for the power-up and risk it going and, not wasting a single second, or do we try and pile in and take the soul? Haven't actually had to make that decision because Toxic has the soul currently, trying to make passage back. It's currently a little bit of a 1v1, but I think he can't really be too careful.
Yeah, I think he's just being careful right now. The quad's going to be up.
Oh, for this reason, actually, because he's surrounded by Quad and Kane. Just meeting him in the middle, and that's why Toxic was trying to be so careful.
I'm going to see what's going to happen here, because, Unlovables has Quad, but they still haven't got a hold of the soul, and now they just lost it. It's like they're not really taking advantage of that position.
Completely. I mean, if Unlovables were going to try and use the Quad to seize the obelisk itself, the fact that Stacked was just able to defend while the Quad was in play, it's not really going to have a huge impact on the push itself. They've wasted that time, and now it's gone. And
on the flip side, you got to give credit to Stacked for recognizing, hey, they got their power up where he is. Hey, Toxic, try to delay a little bit, this and that, and they surrounded him, and they stole the Quad off the guy. It's just really impressive from Stacked.
They did get a couple of rails, but the longer it takes them to actually get their soul and push it back, it is going to allow a couple of members of Stack to respawn a little bit closer too. Sen popping his Berserk mode. He hasn't got a lot of health, though, even with that 90. Oh, that one rail missed. Very pivotal rail to miss, actually, for him to stay alive temporarily, at least just to waste some time here.
Interesting tactic where he threw the soul straight up in the air there.
That was quite cute. I'd actually, I'd quite like that one.
Little delay tactic so we can fight and, maybe they didn't lose track of it.
Oh, they did fight back. Very important for Mode to survive just long enough to, again, just to carry on wasting time. As long as you're alive and they're shooting at you, it's just going to allow the rest of your team to follow up and take some of that damage while they're not looking in that direction.
It certainly makes you think, I was commenting how this obelisk is, to me, the more dominant of the two. And now we're seeing the turnaround. Unlovable's got the, right? They got that obelisk. And all of a sudden, this game is heated. Where the last game, Stacked had that obelisk, and it was a wipe. So
it just shows how important some of these early moments are. In many ways, like that first 20 seconds will shape the entire round. One moment can decide how an entire round will play out. That's the strength of sacrifice.
Yeah, and again, the confidence thing or getting off to a bad start. Momentum is real.
I think I just saw 2 telefrags back to back. They kind of swapped it around there. Too Good, though, with the protection. And seeing as they currently have the soul in play, this is a very important protection for Too Good to hold on to. He is taking damage, but he has a nice amount of health. That rocket might see to it. He needs a little bit of help.
Yeah, definitely. Wow, I'm amazed they couldn't defend there with protection like they had. So good job, though, by Unlovables. I mean, they're getting themselves back in this game. It's still in the balance, though. I just feel like Stacked could just take control at any moment. Maybe that's because of the last round. But Unlovables, you got to think their confidence is growing a little bit here.
It's going to be harder and harder for them to achieve that the closer we get to the end of this round. I think with the fact they've got 96% left, 4% can really go down in the blink of an eye because it does climb very quickly indeed. But I think Stack know that, and that's why they're being so unbelievably aggressive. I mean, the frags are currently just racking up one by one, and they're not really going to allow Unlovables to get back because ultimately that's what they need to do.
Yeah, they're going to be hyper aggressive right now. Only 4%, as you mentioned, is nothing. That's going to tick in about 5 to 6 seconds or so. I mean, there's not much time. So they really have to keep them from capping it altogether.
Hang on, though. There's only one person left trying to face off. Faz, unfortunately, goes down. Too Good soon to follow. I actually wonder if they can be able to take this one back. Noctis does manage to steal it away for a split second. Will he be able to make the passage? That was a fantastic sequence of movement.
Fantastic movement, I agree. Just the rocket jump and then the smoothness on his way down. Didn't hit any walls or nothing like that. It's just great run, great run.
I mean, that might be the play that has won this round. It depends on how well they can defend here, but I think it was just, that could have gone pear-shaped. If he went down at any point, they got the soul, could have been over. Here we go. 1 more percent. They've tied things up just like that. Stacked still in the fight. And then some. 2 left.
Yeah, Unlovables, I'm sure they're thinking if they lose this round, it's definitely one that got away from them here.
Oh, okay. 1% left. They've got it away. This is going to be as close as it gets. They still need to get it back, but I mean, they're going back and forth. 2 kills one way, 2 kills another.
They just can't seem, Stacked is really, like I said, being very aggressive. They're having a hard time getting it back, and it seems like Stack's settled in here.
I think if they lose one more, this might be game over. They're trying to waste some time. They do get a couple of frags, but it's still unbelievably close. Here comes Sen. There's the quad damage. It goes to Unlovables. This is a crucial power-up to hold on to. Here we go. They're making it back. 2 kills goes down. This might be the end of the round if they can get that quad back into their base safely.
Yeah, that was definitely a big couple frags there with the shotgun, but he needs to get back and support his teammates here. Yeah, he's there. There he is.
They've dropped it off. Are they going to run in? They're trying to waste time. They can't quite get there. Wow. 99%. versus 100. I mean, if they lost that round as well, going into the next map knowing that it just slipped between their fingers would have been very stressful. But on the flip side, they were able to clutch it out. They got that final answer percentage, and here we go, round 3, just like that. This is only map 1, who knows?
Yeah, this is I was a little surprised there, but it definitely shows you, like you mentioned, how important it is to get off to that good start. This time, you know, the Unlovables got off to the good start, and you think about how close that game was, or that round was, that was the difference.
Now, as long as these frags coming through, I mean, it's going to allow Unlovables to get a little bit of like early control on some of these weapons, but ultimately, as long as people are alive during this soul spawning, that's what matters. Kane tries to deny the plasma trail, plenty of heads going in there, and in fact, actually, kind of looked like there wasn't a lot of contesting going on. They got a couple of frags, they have been able to temporarily keep them at bay. Noctis now, I mean, they've done a lot of the hard work for them.
This is what they did, and this is, I could be wrong here, but what I saw is they were willing to give up the soul.
Definitely.
Because they want that obelisk, and they would let them bring it, and they had a defense there already. And I think they saw in the last round how important that obelisk was, even if they felt like they have a little more skill as a team.
I think you're definitely right there,
yeah.
Machiavelli, 100%. Like, they clearly just waited for them to go near it. Noctis had the trap already laid, and that was all he needed. You know, get one frag, and then the rest of the work's been done. Here comes the power-up. Too Good has it now, but I mean, just look, he is unbelievably weak, so I mean, he might only have that for a set amount of time before he goes out here. But nope, never mind. He's just racking frags up left, right, and center. Still alive.
So I'm curious now, can Unlovables get anything going? I mean, last time, you know, Stacked had this point, they really could not get much going. So they need to alter their approach. I think trying to steal the soul, throwing it off the edge, because just getting out of there is tough enough. So I think they just need to try to get off the edge of the map and have somebody in the middle pick it up.
Yeah, they've definitely shown us that they're a lot more comfortable taking the fight in the middle of the map rather than at an obelisk. You know, when it happens sort of near the middle of this map, there's a lot of different angles there, and I think they're just more comfortable taking the fight. So resetting it wouldn't really be a bad call. But I guess the question is, are they going to have a chance to do it in this situation? Stacked have already almost got 50%. Here we go, trying to pile in with the Berserk mode. Hasn't quite been able to land anything, and unfortunately, he just walks into a rocket, and all 4 members go down very quickly indeed.
Strong defense by Stacked. I mean, they really have it down on this obelisk. Something for other teams to note, though, they did drop that round when they didn't have it, so it makes you wonder how important this obelisk is to their success and if teams can play off that.
Yeah, and this being their map as well. I mean, clearly there's a map, there's a level of comfort that they just have here, and it's going to happen this late on. You know, these teams have been competing for so long in Sacrifice. There's going to be maps and approaches they just like to play with. But Unlovables, they're having as much of a hard time, and just, I don't even think they've won any of these fights. Just look at the kill feed. It's constantly blue over red every single time.
It's just like a repeat of round 1, and you saw it in round 1 where they were just having problems even getting into the doorway. I mean, they're really, they need to, I don't know what they can do at this point, because it just seems like the combat as well, they're losing a lot of combat. So it's getting compounded. It's positioning, it's combat, and on top of that, Stacks seem to be fighting together more often, and yeah.
And a danger as well is the fact that there are a couple of people trying to go in for the obelisk too. They have actually managed to come off better in this fight, so bot mode has the quad damage. Unfortunately, he only survives for so long before Toxic cleans up Sen now with the quad in hand, but I mean, even if they manage to drop off this obelisk, they've got so much work to do. But it's definitely not impossible.
Oh, I mean, hey, we've seen it. It's just, but it's so hard. I mean,
yeah.
It's so hard. And you know, you're going to do it against Fast, Toxic, Noctis, and I mean, really, I mean, good luck. I mean, seriously.
I mean, like, there's always going to be that sort of odds are stacked against them pun that's going to be so hard to avoid this entire weekend. But just, this is one of those scenarios. They've got to get 7% left. We'll put Stacked 1 map up. Unlovables, they pretty much have no choice but to make this a 100-0. Otherwise, it's going to make their life so much more difficult. But here we go. Another good fight coming out of Stacked. Too Good with the soul, and he's got Ghost Walk too, so even if he gets caught off guard, he can just go invisible and take out someone else while the rest of the team follows up. No one here even to challenge. I mean, that was a pretty easy drop-off for Too Good right there.
It just illustrates how dominant they've been in these combat situations, team versus team. You saw there was 3 of them sitting at the other obelisk because they just wiped out Unlovables and was just hanging out. And you know, by the time they respawned and chased him down to the other, too late. I mean, they're already set up and they just catch you running in.
And that's going to be it. 100% goes down one more time. Stacked have this first map. And I think with our second map being Tempest Shrine, it's going to be 2 very, very different play styles. And I think the thing is, it's a newer map, right? It's a newer map. It's against a team like Stacked that have so much experience in Sacrifice already. This might be, as Jahar said, one of those wildcard scenarios. Is it going to be a map that they're going to be a little bit more uncomfortable on? It's a heavily favored North American map, is Tempest Shrine. So, I mean, there might be a level of comfort here, but we are moments away from finding out. But ultimately, I think that went about as we expected. But the second round, I think that showed there were strong signs of life there.
Yeah, the second round, obviously the round 1 and 3 is what we expect from Stacked. But round 2, it kind of gave me a little pause about further in the tourney, let's say when they play Liquid, I would be shocked if Liquid didn't see that. They're going to pick Burial Chamber. They seem very dependent on that Obelisk based on the outcome of the games. So other teams might play off that. What if they do what they did? They all of a sudden know they're going to put a defense there, let you go grab the soul. Because you could see they changed up their strategy in round 3 for that. So obviously they feel it's very important, and I'm wondering if other teams, it's just kind of a point that they might want to be a little worried about that.
I would definitely agree with it, and I think these players will be paying attention because they're the best players in the world for a reason, and they're very quick at picking up on these little nuances of details about how these teams handle these maps. But I think realistically, it's important that Unlovables were able to show they could get around. You know,
yes.
If this was a completely 100-0 versus 100-0, this would be a very, very daunting map to go into.
Yeah.
But I mean, their work's still cut out for them, but if they take this map, it's going to be great.
Yeah, I think especially now, Unlovables needs to get out and get this first round on their map and not let something like 100-0 happen again. Because I think you're spot on what they had to get around for personal confidence. Hey, we can play with these guys. We just need to be on point in terms of our team play. So they proved they could do it, but can they do it consistently, and can they get it done right now on this map?
I think what I liked about that final round we saw as well going into our champion select, I think we're expecting a lot of similarities here. We're seeing Slash picked again, Sorlag coming through, still such a popular champion. Not really seen any Scale Bearer this time, which actually, part of me thinks it's a surprise and some part of me doesn't. I think Sorlag is favored so heavily by these players, and they've used Sorlag for so long, right? I think even though the change has been made, Sorlag is still a very dangerous champion in the game. Yes, the Acid Spit doesn't do as much damage, but it still serves the purpose of area denial. Area denial and sacrifice in conjunction with Slash is an amazing combination. And I think they've got an amazing strength with Too Good, who just has such a good knowledge of when to time his invisibility and just steal power-ups and steal souls. They have a great first start to the round. We see that all the time.
I think Noctis likes the movement of Sorlag. He wants that bunny hopping aspect of it, and you can see a couple times with his rocket jumps as he got away. He really generated quite a bit of speed and was utilizing that movement. You can't do that as well with Scale Bearer, so I'm thinking they're just probably playing to their champion strengths.
And I think it's also just the way the players like to approach it too. I mean, like Noctis, we did see in pretty much plain black and white how good his movement is too. I mean, there were a couple of those deliveries from the Souls, Obelisk and Burial Chamber that were really nice and tidy. You know, he didn't really waste an ounce of a second going from one point to another, and some really pivotal moments that allowed them to stay in the fight. He wouldn't be able to do that with any other champion in the game.
Yes, I agree. And the adjustments to Sorlag, I think, just put her more balanced.
Yeah, she's just a little bit more evened out with the rest of the cast.
A little more evened out. So I like that, and where we see that variety where, yeah, she's a little interchangeable now. Maybe, as we saw earlier with Liquid, they had Clutch out there. I mean, we've seen Clutch, we've seen Scale Bearer, we've seen all the heavies, basically. So I haven't seen a Visor pick yet. That's something we've never seen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can communicate that with the rest of your team. You know, that's going to be kind of useful. Because I think in many ways, Visor was always really sort of useful for his ability.
Duel, but more for duel,
yeah.
I think.
I think they just like having movement, another utility, right?
Yeah, clearly, I mean, getting around a map quickly is huge, so.
But Tempest Shrine being such an interesting map, could just kind of go back to how prominent resetting the soul is on this map, because it takes a while for the soul to reappear in the middle of that neutral ground. Noctis, a nice amount of patience actually, does get taken out. Sen with the soul, I don't really think he's going to last particularly long unless he doesn't get challenged actually. Never mind. No one nearby. Getting head off. Oh, hang on a minute. That one rail may keep him alive temporarily. Yeah, does allow the rest of the team to follow up. Here comes Toxic. Does manage to dance past him. Survives just long enough. That was very impressive indeed. But no, they weren't quite able to drop it off. Toxic does actually manage to take the soul indeed. Actually, never mind that one. Unlovables, they did get there just in time.
He got the cap right before he died. And it makes you wonder, do they want that obelisk? Because he seemed to go all in thinking, I just want to get this obelisk.
There comes Cade. He's got the core damage. You said it yourself, if they want to stay in this fight, winning this first round is going to be so important. I think they've, well, that's a great way to start the round, but they still need to get the soul. And there's the drop-off, you know, it's already reset back into the middle. So this fight is going to take place for quite a while before the soul goes back into play.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Unlovables that the soul is out of play there, because that was an excellent quad run by Kane. Could have definitely got some percentage on there.
But I think we see that all the time, and it's such a common tactic is when the power-up goes to the other team, it's a very deliberate play to just get rid of the soul, and then it pretty much wastes the entire time. However many frags they get while the power-up is in play there will mean nothing because the soul is not on the map.
Absolutely. I think it's a very intelligent play, and I'm surprised we don't see teams try to do this all the time. I mean, especially in the case when the protection is out on the map. I mean, that's just so dominant. At least the quad, you can kind of, you know, put a bullseye in their back and take them down. Protection makes that far more difficult.
Especially when you're one of those chunky champions as well. I mean, like a Scale Bearer or Sorlag with pretty much like max health and a heavy armor. I mean, like, what can you do about that one? Here comes Noctis. A little bit head off, does dodge both rockets. That's going to be enough at least to get the delivery there, but how long will he survive with the rest of the team? He has been able to drop it off, but Unlovables, they come out in force.
Doing a much better job. This game seems a little bit in the balance compared to, obviously, the last map. So this is Unlovable's pick, so this is what we would expect.
I just think it seems to be a map that so many of these teams like to play on. And we saw the same thing on Lockbox. You know, when Lockbox was really new, it was one of the most picked maps at the time during the QWC, and I think it's goes to show some of these teams, they prefer those newer maps.
Well, I think it's good to they try to keep other teams off guard, right? So the new maps come out and you think, oh, everybody's practicing the old maps. Obviously, they all know them. So having that early experience on a new map, and yeah, it's very advantageous.
Here comes Too Good again with the wonderful timing, and for another time with that protection on board. I think that's one of Too Good's greatest strengths, is just, if he's on your team, there's a good chance your team is going to have power up more than the other team. Just the way Too Good likes to approach Nyx.
And it's so important as a team to be there on the power up all the time. So having a guy like that who you know is on top of it every time, because, you know, hey, nobody's perfect. People make mistakes. You may forget about a timer, and it's nice to have somebody like that on your team.
I think Sten tries to survive. I mean, with so many targets on him at one time, tries to almost like deliver the assault, kind of looking up maybe for someone to pass it to, but there was no one around.
Looks like Stacked is starting to settle in, get a little comfortable on the map. It started off pretty good for Unlovables, but again, once Stacked gets locked in on defense, it seems like Unlovables just can't break it.
I think it could be underrated as well, how hard it is actually to regain control when an entire team is pretty much keeping the entire map away from you on Sacrifice. That was fantastic, by the way. Oh my days.
Oh my, just both kills were just top-notch stuff.
Just had to outdo himself, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, here comes Kane, though.
But to keep going on your point there, yeah, that's why I was touching on the combat that I'm seeing in combat. It just seems like Stacked is winning the combat more often. And on top, you know, that puts more pressure on your team. And then on top of that, their team cohesion is really good. And it's just putting a lot of pressure on Unlovables.
I think a huge part of that just comes down to the fact that we can't forget that 3 members of Stacked are really talented, consistently successful European duelers. You know, if you're playing Sacrifice against Noctis, you know, Noctis is the kind of player that will get top 8 at QuakeCon. And it's like, well, I've now got to win this 1v1 against this guy. It's easier said than done.
That there is a huge thing. We've seen teams like this throughout Quake history where you take a handful of top duelers and you put them together, and it's really tough. Just on pure talent alone, they will dominate so many teams because, as you said, it's like, oh, I got to win this one-on-one fight. Well, I'm one of the best duelers in the world. I got this.
Here comes Kane. Has got quad damage, but you said it yourself, right? You get a massive target on your back, and with 59 HP, I think you're on borrowed time, but hang on. Still able to survive a little bit. Too Good goes down. Will he be able to get another? He's not taking any of the acid-taking damage, and now he's almost got full health. Noctis goes down too. There we go, Kane. I mean, that was a fantastic little rampage. It did allow Unlovables to make safe passage back, but not before being headed off by basically everyone on Stacked right there. That's a bit of a wall to deal with.
Yeah, it just seemed like right when something could be going their way, it just Stacked just stole that momentum right from them. And you got to give all the credit to Stacked right now for just keeping this pressure on them. They're playing great.
Well, it's the multiple elements of defense, right? How defense in Sacrifice is so layered, where it's not just a matter of sit on Obelisk and defend Obelisk. It's if you even have the smallest hint that the soul is going to go pear-shaped, maybe it's not better to fight the Obelisk. Maybe it's better to try and head them off, get some of the armor or the health that is nearby in the middle of the map, and then meet them in the middle.
And you definitely see Stacked doing some of that, where Unlovables is getting the steal, and then they get back there and Stacked is sitting on their Obelisk with 2 or 3 guys, and it makes you wonder. During that time, yeah, they were probably picking up a little bit of armor, a little extra arsenal.
I think Sen tried to sort of make as much distance as he could before passing off the C gap. That's one of the things about Doomslayer, is the fact that his Berserk doesn't really give him a speed boost as much. It puts him into his top speed instantly, you know, so he's able to go really fast, but ultimately he can't really go faster. Faz just trying to waste a little bit of time, and actually Too Good. Nice little rail right there.
They're in good shape right now. Unlovables could definitely make a comeback right here if they can defend.
I mean, realistically, that's the nature of Sacrifice. If you're able to get the Obelisk and they don't take it at any point, it's going to be 100-0. That could happen at any point on the map. So even if it's 100, you know, even if it's 99% versus nothing, that other team could still win if they drop it off and then just defend it for the rest of the map.
Oh, that looked a little weird.
Yeah, I was a bit. I'm actually not really sure that was intentional or not, but either way, I don't think they're too unhappy with that. Faz with the drop off regardless.
So now they got the cap, but they had to give up the protection. Was it protection at that time? Yeah, it was. So enemy team has protection now. So that's always the risk. You make a steal during the power-up. Yeah. Oh, wow, he's taking a lot of damage.
And he just absolutely got completely surrounded there. And Faz, still pretty healthy, gets a couple of gauntlet kills. Toxic to follow up too. It's the strength of these fast, agile champions. The gauntlet is one of the most deadliest weapons.
That was a big steal right there. That was Unlovable's big chance to kind of get back in this round. Now it looks like Stacked is going to close the show here.
I think it just came down to how well Stacked eliminated protection. You know, they pretty much just made it a non-problem. Within the blink of an eye, they dealt with it.
Yeah, he was getting hit at least from 3 different people there, maybe the whole team.
And Toxic had painted him in the plasma trail too.
Yeah, he was just taking way too much damage regardless of the protection.
It was off to such a fantastic start from Unlovables, but just bit by bit this round is becoming so much harder for them to deal with. Too good. Currently doing well for himself. Gets a couple of gauntlet kills. There we go. Gets one more. 1% and they're likely to be on match point.
That was
another one. Why not?
Oh my gosh! I'm sorry. That was funny because I have to comment. The person jumping off the ledge, and instead of pulling out a gun, what does he do? He just sticks his gauntlet up in the air and just waits for him.
That was a very too good way to get a frag, I think. But hang on, it's not over just yet. 1% more still left. Unlovables, they're wasting time, but they're going to have to do a lot more than that if they want to win. And actually, they did manage to lose 1 member. And I think that's probably going to be it. It is indeed 100% versus 38. It was a fantastic start for Unlovables, but it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, they did okay, but again, giving credit to Stack, they really delayed them in terms of getting percentages. We commented the first quad, how they threw it off the edge, and Kane went on this nice quad run, and it really didn't matter because the soul wasn't in play. And you got to give them a lot of credit for not allowing Unlovables to get any real percentages, because when it's really started to settle down, Unlovables only had like 13%, 14%.
I mean, a lot of action had happened at the start of round 1, but after all of it, only 2% was in play, and that was it. Like, there was nothing else taking place. But here we go. The soul is just about to spawn. Currently in CCAP's favor, but there's the very deliberate reset. If I'm going to go down, then let's at least try and reset this and get our resources back together for the time being.
Yeah, it definitely gives your team a chance to recover, and especially early on, like choosing, as we've seen, choosing the obelisk your team wants is pivotal.
But unfortunately, actually, maybe not so much. They do get a couple of frags there. Stack did sort of currently have control over the ground. Faz has it in play, but he himself is very weak-handed in bot mode, just coming in. Point blank. Toxic with the quad damage. I think Unlovables might be able to drop this off. They do indeed, but Toxic going to have to get a little bit more healthy, and that's going to waste some of this quad damage time. Yeah,
it's one of those things, though, you just can't rush in, though. You're going to put it right into enemy hands, so you have to rebuild your stack and delay.
I mean, like, it's not going to be the end of the world because ultimately the other team won't have quad. So even if you're not getting any frags, they're not going to be able to benefit from it. But unfortunately, Toxic, he's getting loads of frags, but they've not actually been able to seize this soul just yet. I wonder if this is going to be enough for them to drop it off.
Yeah, he did get a couple kills there. I think it was very deliberate with how he did it. He wanted to secure the area and then sit on it, but looks like they're going to get away with this now.
Yeah, Faz, just ever so slightly manages to get a heavy armor, and I actually think that's going to keep him alive long enough. He's going so far and too good to clean up as well. No one was going to stop him from dropping that one off. A fantastically well-executed fight there by Stacked.
Yeah, and great run by Faz. Love the movements. Love how he just picked up the armor and one smooth movement, ran right by an enemy, and just kept going. Just didn't phase him one bit.
The thing about sacrifice is that you have a split second to make a decision. You know, there's so many different ways you can go from one obelisk to another, but at any moment there could be someone waiting for you there could be 2 people. You miscalculate by half a second and you're going to lose the soul and it's going to go to the other team. So you've got to commemorate the players that will go with the Anarchy. They need to take a lot of responsibility to make sure that they are the ones that can get the percentage for their team. It's not an easy task.
No, not at all. And then again, it's up to their teammates too to help give them information about what routes they should take. And it's like we mentioned, so many layers to this game mode.
Anarchy almost actually ragdolling as he went face first into a wall. Quite comical. They're Stacked, defending well for now.
That was a nice shot. Somebody hit him from out of nowhere.
Yeah, actually kind of looked like Noctis wasn't prepared to get hit from that angle either.
He was not.
Bot mode up behind. I think bot mode has actually been a little bit of a thorn in Stack's side in this round. He's been consistently getting in there with just basically being as close range as possible, but consistently getting behind people, I think.
He's doing a really good job right now. They're locked in on defense. This power up right now. If Unlovables doesn't get this power up, again, they're going to be in one of those 80% to 17% kind of situations.
Kind of looked like the plasma trail went off a little bit too early as well. Either way, Faz just kind of swooping in there, and you said it yourself, if they get the power up, it's going to be very hard for Unlovables to really recover. And unfortunately, exactly that has happened.
Yeah, by the time this wears out, and Faz is so dangerous, as is everybody on Stack. But he's just so dangerous, and now he's just running around, cleaning up.
I mean, he just bullied them away from the health as well, right? I mean, if he's able to sort of like sit on these really important pickups, he's got protection. What can you do to stop him?
Yeah, and he's doing a good job of pushing them out of the zone, so they can't really get an attack right now. Now that's off, they're going to try, but again, they're like, I pretty much go 75%, I thought 80, but yeah, it's really, they're up against it right now.
Well, they're making good progress to make it 80. I mean, just like that, right? 1% left, and they've got it already. Here comes Noctis. Actually, just completely ignoring right there, just trying to go straight forward. I think the Soul's going to be a little bit more of an important objective right there. Hot mode, very weak. Even with that injection, one rail, and he's pretty much going to go down. Or how about a point-blank super shotgun in the face?
Running into a scale barrier, did a little self-damage with the rocket, and then shotgun just finished him.
I think they're going to be quite careful how they approach this temporarily. Oh, that was so well executed by Botmode. Actually, the last minute to run in there and just... The split second the Soul was out of action. That's it. Let's go for the reset.
Yeah,
Let's try and get the control back.
Yeah, you can see Stacked is very keen on that strategy. They've done it several times now in multiple rounds about throwing it off the side. And as it does take quite a bit for it to come back, and it's clearly their intention to use that as a regroup phase.
However, it has temporarily gone to Unlovables, but I mean, before I can even finish saying that, that's how fast this game mode can go. Faz, in the blink of an eye, has access to the Soul, and if they drop this off now, this is a difficult situation. 20% left, and they will be moving on in this bracket.
And now power up right now, so Unlovable, they have to challenge this power up. Meanwhile, the Obelisk is ticking up for Stacked.
Nicely detonated Plasma Trail there. Toxic has quad, but he's so weak. Oh no, he gets hit by the ticking damage.
Oh.
Kane as well. I mean, that's just the tunnel of death.
Yeah,
it's so hard to survive in there.
There's not a lot of room to navigate in there. Oh my gosh, it's just a cesspool in there right now.
But currently, C-Cup comes off a little bit better. He's not got a huge amount of quad damage left, though.
Oh, no.
Toxic swooping in. They're really trying to focus, and this is just the further you get into the round, where it's a matter of like 6% and you're out of this tournament, this is when the aggression comes through. Unlovables, they can't really waste another second. The second it goes in the other Obelisk, that's it. They're pretty much going to be done for. Now they're winning all these fights. They need to keep this up.
Yeah, it was a nice little quad rockets there from Botmode, getting himself 3 kills in a row. Gives himself some breathing room, but they have to keep Stacked off of some of these major items. Don't let them get restacked so they can do a major push. It's going to take some perfect play from Unlovables.
But I mean, like in this kind of setting in LAN where it's such a major tournament, if there's one place you have to play out of your mind, it's going to be right here, right now. I mean, they have such a ridiculously difficult team to go up against. But they have shown signs of life before, especially, you know, they just played on Burial Chamber. They had that very dominant round 2. They just need to sort of repeat history just for a split second.
They just don't seem consistent enough. Stacked just seems much more the consistent performer here, and that's why they're going to get this win.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking very difficult, isn't it? C-Cap does get one nice rail, but with the mountain to climb, lots more to go. Gets actually 2. That's going to be 2 in a row at least, but...
They did get this back, though. Look, they're up to 40. They're slowly kind of chipping away at that lead, but it's going to be really hard. They're going to obviously have to get this next power-up to 645.
Completely. I mean, the fact that we've got 15 seconds left until the power-up's going to spawn, if it goes in the hands of Stacked, you know they're going to pile all resources into it, and they're just wasting time. So even during this downtime before this power-up spawns, it's not consistently climbing. Unlovables, it's going to take him a little bit longer. And because they had to drop this off, they've now actually lost ahead to try and fight for the power-up. Here comes Botmode to try and clean up. They have got a couple of frags here. Are they going to be able to finish the job?
That was a nice pickup, though. Even though they were a man short, they got the protection. They can really make a run now. Figure about it. If they can keep the protection and defense by the time this is up, they'll only be behind me about 15 to 20, which is a huge comeback compared to where they were just a few minutes ago.
I mean, you said it yourself, right? If they didn't get the power up, it would have been very difficult for them. Fortunately, they were able to seize protection. Even with the man down, it's very impressive indeed. He's still alive. Sen just causing so much chaos. And he's collecting heads on this Obelisk. They do manage to get 2 frags, and the problem is you've got to play perfect 100% because Stacked, they get that Soul one more time, and this is likely to be game over. I think Too Good's just going to try and waste a little bit of time while the rest of his team follow up.
I think he's just whittling down the stack, not engaging. Just being annoying. And then before now,
how about one frag for his troubles, actually? He's still alive, too.
No.
That was really well executed, but here comes Botmode from behind.
Yeah, nice execution utilizing the rockets off the high ground. Placed them very well, right at his opponent's feet, and they just got him blown up.
I mean, those that have been checking out the kill feed would have seen a fair amount of rocket kills from Botmode this entire round. I mean, his rockets this round have been super strong. This is where things get dangerous. Oh, Sen. That was a crucial rail right there, just to steal that momentum away. There's only currently a Noctis lying in wait. Have to wait for the rest to follow up. Here comes the rest.
Oh, nice nails there. Way to just get in his face.
I like that patience from Sen as well, just waiting a split second for CCAP to come in and pretty much just force a 2v1.
And also it made them focus on their opponent, the player that's stacked. He didn't have a stack, gave the player stack, let him go in there and take, and then you're shooting from above for free, even though you're low. You know, they're not paying attention to you.
Now here we go again, Unlovables. They were able to clutch it last time and they have to do the exact same thing. It was 99 to 100. And I mean, here we go. They're in the exact same situation. Oh no, Noctis full speed ahead. If he wins this 1v1, things got really dangerous. Can he do it? No, Kane from behind. Here comes a Toxic. He's got quad damage. Can they deal with this problem?
Oh, he got it away. Threw that soul up there. Oh, no.
And it's 9-9 versus 9-9 again, but they do get a couple of frags. I think that's going to be it after all this work. Unlovables, unfortunately, were not able to clutch things out for another time. Stacked do manage to pull off the clutch in that final round. And I mean, they're going to be moving on. It was a predicted result they would be moving on, but in both maps, they definitely had to fight for it.
Yeah, a little closer in some of those rounds than I thought. I really thought they might run away with it, especially after we saw round 1 and map 1. It's kind of like, wow, that was just decimation. And, you know, they came back. You got to give credit to Unlovables for keeping their head in the game, sticking with it. Came back, had a hard-fought round 2, but stacked, man, just too much stack.
No pun intended. I think that's going to be just a reoccurring thing throughout the course of this tournament, I think.
Yeah, people are going to get sick of hearing it.
Oh,
well,
man. Hi.
Hello.
Welcome back.
I was like kind of just like gripping my skull during the last few moments because that was such a close like potential it was a comeback. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
It was an amazing performance out of Unlovables. It didn't transfer into actual like points or rounds, but you know, taking a round off of Stacked on Burial Chamber of all maps is certainly the accomplishment.
It's a good map for Stacked, and we consistently see them, you know, when they go with this map and they pick this map, they play well pretty much every single time. And we saw these little things come through, like, you know, just that final observation where it was on that final map where things didn't quite go their way because they didn't really get the obelisk they were looking for. But their next play in the next round was quite a brave one to essentially just allow it to go uncontested. Because if you don't really put all your resources and all of your abilities into getting the soul initially, you can then use the abilities later to just steal it and then do the work for them.
And it was certainly a lot of work cut out for them. But I think Unlovables was consistently on, not only on the newer map, but on even the older map, Burial Chamber, which should be a little bit more like a nice group for them. They were controlling the power-ups pretty consistently. Like every quad, every pent was kind of going over to like CCAP and bot mode. They had a lot of like really good consistent play there. Now, unfortunately, like you mentioned, on the actual obelisk itself, it seemed like any time like Noctis entered the room, it was trouble.
And you got to give credit to Stacked too, even though Unlovables did do a good job on the power-ups. There were many times that Stacked recognized this, threw the soul off the side of the map, and did some excellent delay tactics. So even when they did go on a quad run, as we mentioned the Kane run earlier, it made zero impact on the game because the soul was completely out of play. This isn't team deathmatch, so your frags really don't mean anything unless it's to either capture the obelisk, get the soul, you know, something like that. So yeah, you got to give Stacked credit for recognizing how to neutralize an enemy power-up.
Absolutely. Well, we did see a lot of really good quad runs and then a lot of incredibly meaningful frags. In fact, we've got a top 3 up here. And I'm wondering at this point if it's going to be Noctis, because he was just on fire this round. Yep.
Oh, there we go.
First Noctis, no big surprise there. I mean, every time it cut to him, he was pulling like rails and rockets just out of nowhere. Number 2, it's going to be on Tempest Shrine here. And again, it's going to be Noctis.
This
that rocket in particular,
here.
2 for 1.
And then this.
And then getting that rail. Yeah, that was
on.
fantastic. And actually, we're going to give a little bit of attention to Toxic now, who had a really good run, just like running back the quad, trying to be as defensive as possible, and it paid off.
I think there's a couple of things that I've noticed about the way Stacked approach. One is how well they deal with things like the power-up when it's actually not in their team's favor. Like when we saw it consistently on Tempest Shrine when we were like, right, CCAP with a huge stack had access to protection. It's like, right, he's going to make the run with the soul. And then within seconds, his health just disappeared because all 4 members like, this guy is the problem. Yeah. We've got to just delete him instantly. But also, they pretty much stick with exactly the same champions every time they play. They pretty much never deviate from their picks. Every time. Like, even during, like, you know, QWC, it was very much the same champions. And throughout pretty much the entire qualification process in DreamHack, Stacked have gone with the same champions every time.
Yeah, I mean, if you needed any more indication that Noctis is cold-blooded, he's going to be playing that Sorlac.
Nice.
I just think it's clear that, yeah, they feel comfortable with those champions. And they feel, as a team, obviously, that will give them the best chance to win. Even if the meta may say something, differently, what if, one of the players only plays 75% of his current ability on that champion versus another champion? I'd rather have him at his best on Sorlag or Anarchy or whoever he may like, versus just going along with what everybody else thinks is good.
Well, unfortunately for Unlovables, I think they got stacked at their best. We're going to be taking a quick look at the brackets here, as we're going to be taking a short break from Sacrifice as we move into Duel later, which I'm very excited about. But as you can see, we're going to be going for a upper bracket single semifinal between Liquid and Stacked. I think, Machiavelli, you had a few predictions about the way the bracket would turn out. Is it following the path here pretty much?
It's literally going exactly. I could write in the teams right now, but we got to save the drama for later. So I don't want to spoil anything.
All right, guys, we're going to be coming back here at DreamHack Denver 2017 as we move from Sacrifice to Duel. It'll be a bit of a shifting gears, but things are certainly